What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. As always, it is my pleasure to be having these conversations with you fine, lovely people. I'm excited. Nay. I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to say something else, but I don't know. Needless to say, I think it's going to be a fun time. Needless to say. Don't really have a huge topic on what we'll talk about at the moment. Really, it's up to you guys. It can be anything you want it to be. Just got done watching the Lower Decks. Thought it was interesting that they have an asexual character on there. That is something interesting that's being brought to the table. Not completely sure we've ever seen that before. So that was something. Also, looking at doing a Terran Empire War, Federation Terran Empire War thing. So that's been fun to put together, since about 3 paragraphs of it is everything established in canon, and at that point, it becomes fan fiction. Now, based on what I think would happen and the research that I've done, but still, ultimately, let's be honest, a little bit of fan fiction. And then we can just, talk about whatever you guys want to talk. I'm trying to do more of these. People want more of these. And for me to do it, you must come. You must arrive. Haven't seen the latest episode of Lower Decks? All right, Benny Hooker, I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to ruin it for you. Though, since it is a topic, it is possible that details about it will come up. So, I guess that should be a warning if you want to wait to see it. It was an alright episode. It was pretty decent. I don't think there was anything insanely good about it, nor insanely bad about it. It added some interesting pieces. I went from 4 likes to 3 likes. So apparently, me saying that took a like away. And that's just sad.
Hi.
That is just, disappointing, one might say. Disappointing. But, yeah. I really just want to hang out. I'm trying to do these more. One of the intriguing pieces is that they do try to add different aspects of culture into Star Trek. And it's an interesting dichotomy. And I respect and see where they're going with it. And I can also see why some people get frustrated with it. So, with what they're attempting to do, you will inevitably see people or different proclivities presented outside of what's in our actual society. And that's just because they're trying to add stuff. So I don't know how many asexual people are in the world, but it's unlikely that you would see them serving on a specific ship or on multiple ships. But I think that's consistent with what you're seeing with non-binary persons, with LGBT, because a lot of people will come and say, well, if you look at society, it's 1 in 10 or whatever, and now we're seeing like 6 or 7 people. That's an exaggeration, but they'll say it. They'll say the exaggeration. Honestly, I think it's really Trek to have the diversity that they're having. I know that's not the most popular thing to say, but I really do. I want to know Brian's show with him during the Border Wars. I think it'd be interesting to have a Border Wars and maybe him as one of the protagonists or main characters. Wouldn't want it specifically on him. Yeah, and this is a really interesting piece too. Like, everyone talks about how a lot of people talk about how they miss Legacy Trek and what Legacy Trek was. And they miss the good old days and how it's being taken away. And yet the really interesting and popular stuff seems to be like Terran Empire Wars, Dominion Borg War, Cardassian Border Wars, things of that nature. And I'm not even saying that's bad. It's just really interesting to see the dichotomy, because for those who grew up with the Next Generation, and I think that's the biggest, like, of the people who don't like the disco era Trek, I think the biggest element of them came from the Next Generation era. I really do. I think they grew up with TNG. But again, I think that's just an interesting dichotomy, because TNG was generally not about that. I don't think many would like that, says Sirsta. Thing is, if they brought back O'Brien, they would need to recast him. Oh, you don't think they'd like... Why would they need to recast him? He's still alive, isn't he? Why would they... Or because he's older? Please tell me he didn't die. He didn't die. There's no way. Cole Meany's still with us. Wow, he's almost 70? Wow. I did not know that. Oh my god, we're getting old, boys and girls. All of us are getting old. Wow. I mean, you know, what they should do then, because I agree, that's kind of... They'd probably need to make it as a cartoon, or they would have to recast him. They should just bring him back in, like, Picard, or like a post-Dominion War show. Not give it to him. I don't think this is going to be awful, and I'm going to get a lot of hate from the left on this. I'm not convinced people in their 60s, 70s, or 80s should be given a focus for a show. At least in Star Trek. But I think it would be cool to have him as a part, see him in a series, or on a cast, but not something focused, you know? Yeah, that's crazy. It's not a dichotomy. Those that like the war stuff are more DS9 fans, and TNG fans can't stand Star Trek Discovery. I have a lot of TNG fans that really enjoy the war aspects that I bring to it. The 90s were the 90s were, what, 30 years? No, 40 years ago now, weren't they? No, they couldn't be. I'm almost 40. So they'd be 30 years ago. Man, that is insane to me. If Back to the Future was set in the present day, they would go back to the 90s. You shut your mouth, open lock. You shut your mouth and you don't ever open it again. You dirty sausage. Dirty, dirty sausage lock is what they called now. They could make it a story being told to a class at Starfleet Academy. Would that feel like Starfleet, though? Like, or not Starfleet. Would that feel like Star Trek? I don't know. I don't know. I have said before, and, you know, I've been somewhat remiss, because I think Lower Decks is doing really well. Discovery Season 3, somewhat disproved me, I think. But I've talked about how Trek could be nearing its end days with the stories it has to tell, but I don't know. I'm going to buy a CD Walkman for $120. Man, they weren't $120, but I remember buying CD players, like portable CD players. I think TNG fans easily rolled into DS9 and picked up interest in the war story arcs. I would agree with that, but I think what people define as the next generation, as Star Trek, Starfleet, comes from the next generation and came from the big speeches with Picard. You know? I think that they see Starfleet from the eyes of Gene Roddenberry, Season 1 and 2, which isn't really what Starfleet is. TNG fans don't mind the war stuff because they also like DS9, but exploration first with TNG, conflict second. While those that lean DS9 are more into conflict first and exploration. I think you can have a happy medium. Kind of why I'd like to see a JAG/NCIS type Trek. Doing something during Academy Days could also be the tone for future shows by giving us a view on what's like to go through it. I thought that was the original, and that may have been the original pitch for Prodigy, which was they are Starfleet students, or Starfleet cadets, which I think could have been interesting. Should make a series completely on the other species, like Gorn, Breen, Talarians, the Shelock, Tholians. Wouldn't do well. Audiences don't respond to that. As a species, we really like to see us, and we like to see things that we can relate to. From a demographic standpoint, most the popcorn eating audience, as Red Letter Media would put it, and so I don't think that that would be all that popular. I think that it would probably tank as a show. Is there a Starfleet HQ for non-enlisted and non-officers? I'm thinking an equivalent to Starfleet Academy in San Francisco. So there's a little bit of contention with that. The way it seems, sometimes Starfleet Academy is all you got. Sometimes there are secondary schools. There's no evidence, but I like to, not that there's no evidence. It's never been confirmed, but I like to think that Starfleet Academy is where the officers go, and that's primarily on Earth, possibly the original member worlds. And then there's the enlisted route, which can be in several different systems or other member worlds. So if you want to be a cadet, you got to go all the way to Earth. If you want to be enlisted, you might just have to go to the nearest Federation colony. That makes the most sense and matches up with what we've seen in The Next Generation. What if you did the aliens focus thing with the one stupid human who somehow gets stuck among them, so focused on the culture but human main? Well, the problem is, I mean, that gives you an in. It allows you to have a fish out of water so that as they learn, the audience learns. So it's a good idea from a story writing perspective, but if they're the only ones that are human and everything else is not human, unrelatable, it's still not going to be a show people want to watch. You would literally have to humanize whatever species that you're doing. And so you'd have to first find a species that somewhat closely relates to humanity. So no Klingons, no Gorn, no Romulans, not really. Vulcans would definitely be out. And then if you're humanizing them, why not just do a crew of mixed people? Yeah, because not everyone can be an officer. Miles was an NCO. Well, when Star Trek The Next Generation started, and I think the original series, I could be wrong on the original series, but Star Trek The Next Generation for sure, everyone was an officer, including ya boy Miles. He was retconned to be an NCO. Lore Reloaded is an alien. It's true. It is true. It is the only way I could do this. It's the only way that I could do this and still remain sane. The most unbelievable part of Trek is that San Francisco hasn't already seismically faulted into the ocean. Well, I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, if you look at Starfleet being this great organization that helps everyone and is there to make sure the universe is a lot better, then it's completely unrealistic that it's in California. That's probably the biggest stretch. Or if you interpret Starfleet to actually be basically like a gilded cage where it's corrupt from the inside, they make everyone think that they're good, but ultimately they're just trying to get theirs. They will screw over other species, so they look good diplomatically, but honestly they're worse than the Romulans. Then California is exactly where it needs to be. So I mean, it depends on your interpretation of Starfleet. I heard that there was a Star Trek show that never got made about Kirk and Spock's early years in Starfleet Academy. Do you think the show would do good now if they were to make it today? Well, they would be recasting both Kirk and Spock, unless they're going to use the movie Kirk and Spock, which is going to anger a lot of people. Everything would be updated, which would anger a lot of people. It depends. I think that there would be some nostalgia to it, but let me be honest with you guys. We just need new Star Trek characters. It's time to let Spock and Kirk and Picard and Sisko, it's time to let them go. Let them go. Let them fly away. Let them be. I feel they just need to stay away from legacy characters. See, that's what I was saying. The most unbelievable part of Trek... Oh, we already said that. That's why he doesn't wear pants, because nothing is big enough that can cover what he has down there, and then there's his telescopic tongue that can reach all the spots. It's true. Ariel Ballet knows me. She's got my number. Imagine a universe where the whole Alpha Quadrant went to war. That was actually called the Dominion War. Or the Klingon War, like all 12 of them. If you're talking like a free-for-all, that could be interesting. Though generally it doesn't. Generally it comes down to blows between, because they've done scenarios with that. They've done alternate universes. Generally it comes down to a brawl between the Federation and Klingons, and the Romulans get just wiped out. They just get destroyed. Do spaceships have spaceship insurance companies? Probably not, since they don't generally they don't utilize money, I'd assume. The plot of Star Trek Online is essentially this. True. I mean, honestly, it would come down to a free-for-all between the Klingon Empire and the United Federation of Planets, with the other powers like Romulans being wiped out, and then smaller powers being consumed one way or the other by the Federation or by the Klingons. The Communist Federation of People get really upset when I call them communists. It's really interesting. I don't necessarily want to have that debate. I don't know that I can. We don't know enough about it to call it communist or not. I would say, at best, it's definitely heavily socialistic. But and it is actually really interesting, because even though multiple people disagree with me on what communism means, they always use a different definition for it. And so they're like, well, that can't be communist. They weren't taken over by a dictator. That can't be communist because they don't own all means of production. That can't be communist because it's not Germany. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. No money, no religion, communist. See, yet another one. There are so many definitions that people use. It is impossible to really tell. I feel like even in the Next Generation, they would sometimes add a faction we never heard of that can put the Federation on their heels, like the Breen. Well, the Breen they actually had since the Next Generation, like early Next Generation. Hold on a minute. Member worlds still hold their sovereignty. Do they? Not according to Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Picard. They don't. Member worlds don't actually hold the sovereignty. It's not communist, it's socialist. Kirk owned a house. Picard, there is still private property. Did he own the house, or was he just given it? How do you know that was his house? There's no and also there's no form of communism where a house can be owned. None. I won't be able to go and find a communist state where one person owns a house. Good news, Mad Rabbit Star Trek Online is not canon. So you don't have to worry about that. There is nothing that makes it canon. Their pitch has always been it's canon until it is countered in the television series or the movies. But you could say the same about books. There's nothing in it that makes it canon. Being post-scarcity, doesn't that mean there's not really capitalism or communism? Some new ism? Does communism... Phrase black baby, you stupid mad rabbit. Does communism require money? I haven't looked enough into... from everything I've researched, it seems like capitalism is the best route we have right now. Communism doesn't seem to hold up all that much. But I'll be honest, I'm not a subject matter expert on communism. So I thought it was possible to have a communist state without money. I could be wrong. No true communist state would allow you to own a house. Even no true communist. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there wasn't any true, But I got to be honest, no true Trekkie would ever say that no true communist state would allow you to own a house. So, I mean, you may say that you're a a Trekkie, Tentacle, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to put this gate in front of you and keep you out of it. Because unfortunately you're not a true Trekkie. Now you're a Trekkie, but not a true one. You know, so maybe if you became a true Trekkie and you admitted that communist states allowed you to own a house, then I could let you in. But until then. And yes, my gate will have interlocking stem bolts, because why wouldn't it? Do you think the Talaxians will be the first Delta Quadrant species to join the Federation? Weren't the Talaxians completely obliterated? Like, they were pushed back to their homeworld, and now they're not a people or whatever? Finish ready before you bring up the no true Scotsman. Finish reading before. I don't do that. How does that even push by what I said? No true communist state would allow you to own a house. Even China, with the Communist Party, calls the country socialist. How does that disprove anything I just said, Tentacle? I mean, how... I finished reading. Now tell me how that negates what I said. Because if you don't, then I'm afraid, again, you're not a true Trekkie. And I am, once again, have to placing another gate to keep you out, if you understand. Apparently people don't own land in China. You buy up leases from the government, and that's a big part of the Evergrande. I mean, but do you own leases, like, permanently? If you own leases permanently, it's the same as owning the land. It's just calling it something else. See, this is why I don't get into these kinds of conversations, because it doesn't make any sense, and it's just, I don't know enough about it to really speak intelligently to it. Because what's the difference between saying I own it and I'm technically, in this great country, we lease it. We leased the land anyway. When I had my house, I had to pay taxes on it. And if I didn't, they would throw me in jail. Possibly take my land if I didn't pay it for long enough. So I'm leasing my land. Okay. Got an update. Don't know what that was. Leasing my land for the foreseeable future, too. So it's all leasing in the end, if you want to look at it like that. There's an outpost of Talaxians within calm range of Earth. I think Nicholas... Oh! Yeah, I think he did find it, but I mean, it's like a colony. In theory, they could join, but again, they're not big enough. It's a... I don't know. That'd be interesting. I don't think that... Once they expand to the Delta Quadrant, maybe, but I think that's going to be a long time. You know? Nobody actually owns land. I mean, I don't see the difference between owning land as we do in the United States and leasing it in China. That seems like the exact same thing. Oh, hey, I will never go against copulation at massive amounts. I'm always a fan of that. What happened to my phone? Oh. My phone fell and you guys didn't even tell me about that. Who doesn't like turtles? Tentacle, are you mad at me? Are we no longer friends? If anyone has the deed to your house, then take a closer look at the wording. In China, the land is given an 80-year lease. After 80 years, the government takes your land back. When you sell a house in China, you are selling the... Yeah, but I mean, again, I'm not sure why... On our Trek show, we're talking about China communism, China socialism, whatever, versus capitalism. But that's no different than what we do in the United States. It's just that the lease is technically longer, and it can be passed through generations. But if I don't pay it, it goes back to the government. If my daughters don't pay it, it goes back to the government. So it's still technically a lease until we get rid of land taxes. You see what I'm saying? It just goes about it different ways. Great-granddad actually owns the mineral rights on his property. Well, Ariel, let's get rich. You and me, we'll take over the world. You, me, and Arctic. We'll start our own company. We'll call it like Starfleet Mineral Property Rights Company. Quark owns the holodeck. Does he? Does he, or does he lease it? Actually, I think Quark. One of the conditions of Quark staying, I think, that he got was that he didn't have to pay rent. No, if you don't pay your land tax, they don't take your land, they just take your assets to pay back taxes. You still get money back. If the only asset you have is the land, they sell the land. You can't like have no assets, get your land, not pay taxes on it, and them let you keep it. That's not how it works. And I have lived here for 37 years. I promise you that is not how it works in the United States. They do. They sell the property. Yes, they do. Absolutely. You don't get to keep the property. Quark did get pressured to let Nog use the holodeck as long as he needed the free... Yeah, I think he just doesn't have to pay rent. I think it was still owned. Yeah, they sell the land, but pay you back the difference as tax. Okay. Tentacle, I don't... It feels like we're not arguing the same thing. Because we both agree that they take the land and sell it, that you can't keep it. And I'm not arguing, and I don't think anyone will argue that you don't get the money past whatever the taxes, and they'll probably charge you fees and stuff. If there's anything left over, you get that back. But you're still not owning the land if they can force you to do it. It's not true ownership. You know what I'm saying? In China, when your lease expires, you don't get any money back. Okay, so it's just a better form of leasing, is what that tells me. It's just a better form of leasing. No, they only sell it for the day. I'd bet you money that if they have to, they add fees that they take out of it. There's no way that the government isn't going to add fees to having to sell and auction the property off. I would bet. Yeah, DS9 is Bajoran property. Bajor still uses currency. Quark has to rent. I don't know what that means. I'm going to hide that, D-Juice. What is that? I only watch Discovery. Well, you rock it out, Max Matthew. You do you, boo. You do you. Why are we talking about, like, again, least, I mean, we can. If you people want to talk about rent, we can. What's going on, Michael Jackson? They don't give you the difference. That's fine. I don't understand. You know what? It's like saying you have, there are two mob bosses here. One's going to cut your leg off. The other's going to break it. So since one cuts it off, that means the one that breaks it is like the better, like the bestest. Like there's nothing wrong with it. That it's okay. That, yeah, basically you're still doing it. They're both bad. They're both bad. One's better than the other, but they're both bad. I don't understand. How's this even? I don't get it. We're all a little Ferengi today. That's true. Rent is too damn. Does he still he still run for office? Like he has ran for office. I bet there's a lot of people that don't get that. The rent is too damn high. I bet people don't get that. Dolphins don't pay rent because they live in the ocean. We are the only... Here's something to make you sad. We are the only species that pays to live on this planet. Think about that. Old Miss Business Degree. Let's go, says Mad Rabbit. I would be excessively surprised. Hugely surprised if a government forces you to sell your land, like sells your land, and doesn't add fees to do it for the process. I would be immensely surprised. Except when the Earth is about to be destroyed and they fly off into space, only thanking us for the fish. That's true. How about them lowered? I have watched that movie. I have not read that book though. Lower Decks, as I said, this recent episode when it came to Lower Decks was interesting. They added a different type of character, an asexual character, which was I actually wasn't against it. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I beyond that, it was a nice, decent episode. I don't think it was the greatest. I don't think it was the worst. I like the Mariner Boimler. So spoilers, 3, 2, 1. I like how Boimler proves Mariner wrong. I think that they really need to expand on Mariner being overprotective of Boimler and letting him go. Every species struggles to survive. Money is just a proxy for survival. Mexico. That's deep. Actually, I don't even think the government can force you to sell. They can put you in jail for not paying. They absolutely can. In the great state of Tennessee, where I am, not sure why it goes there, accordingly, in Tennessee, your property can be sold at a tax sale to pay off the delinquent tax bill. But the winning bidder from sale can't get ownership of your home right away. You'll get some time to get caught up on the overdue expenses. If the taxes aren't collected and paid through escrow, the homeowner must pay them. When a homeowner doesn't pay the property taxes, the delinquent amount becomes a lien on the house, which can be sold, which can be forced into a sale. Why are we timing him out? Why'd you time him out, Axeman? Don't time him out. I think Mariner's problem is she has to have a dummy as a pet friend, and loses it when they start to grow. Nah, so he's never been a dummy. That's the thing. He never has. He has always been a pretty stellar Starfleet officer. They can't put you in jail for not owing taxes. Haven't debtors' prisons been illegal in your country since the 1850s? They can't put you in jail for owing taxes. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, they're using the lien thing. It's like putting a mortgage on your house at that point. They can take your land and sell it, man. I did mention the dirty word taxes. How you doing, Arctic? Hope you're doing well. I wonder how much it would be to have a Deutschland Pocket BB would cost. I don't know what that is. The original, you want to know how we first got started? So you talk about taxes if you just got here. So this all started with talking about how whether the Federation or Starfleet is or is not a communist utopia. At that point, we were talking about how it may be socialist. We then got into communism versus capitalism because we said that China, there's never been a true communist state. And in China, you don't own land, you just lease it. My point was that in the United States, you actually are doing the exact same thing because you have to pay land taxes. Ultimately, they're going to take your land if you don't pay land taxes. And then they're saying, well, it's worse in China because you actually can own it and you get money back if they sell the land. And I made the point that, well, I mean, if you have your leg cut off or you get your leg broken, one's better than the other, but they're both super bad. And here we are. That's the entire conversation in a nutshell. Is it just me, or is the Picard making another version of the Mirror Dictator universe? It seems like they're doing that. We'll have to take a look to see where it goes, but it does seem like that. If Lore gets any more legal, he's going to have to buddy up with the Legal Eagle. I watch him from time to time. Can you do what you want on the property in China? Even if you couldn't, it doesn't make it. It's like a worse version. So if I go to one dentist and he straps me up to like a medieval dungeon device, doesn't give me any kind of painkillers or anything, reaches in there and takes out a tooth that needs to be taken out, like one of my wisdom teeth, just uses like the bloodiest, grimiest, like like combat knife to take it out. And then I go to another dentist, and everything's sterilized, everything's clean. They use actual dentist equipment. They use anesthetine to keep me out. I'm very taking comfort. One's better than the other, but it's still a similar process. I don't. Now I think you guys are messing with me, because you know I'm going to start having more conversations. Stop with all the tax stuff. Blood is about to shoot out. Think some are forgetting about the bank's leverage here. You still have to pay taxes in China too. That whole tax is like a lease thing. Doesn't make sense. It is a lease thing. It is though. Taxes are theft. Okay, well I mean, maybe. I think they're necessary thievery. You can't do whatever you want with your property, at least if it's in a town or city limits. Just try not mowing the lawn. Well, and I mean, you can't, like, there's obviously limits too. And again, that goes back to China may be more restrictive than the U.S., but I can't create a nuclear weapon on my land and the federal government not get involved. I can't, like, even in Tennessee, I have to buy a permit to put a deck on my land. So it's not like it's more restrictive. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think Boimler has ever been an idiot. I think that he's always been a really smart, really effective officer. He's just brand new. He just doesn't know what he's getting into. Mariner is basically... So Mariner, where she is right now, should really be, for all intents and purposes, like an officer. Should really be because she was a part of the bridge crew, right? So she should be a lieutenant, maybe a lieutenant commander, something like that. But she's not. She's choosing to be an ensign, which is why she is able to run circles around Boimler, because she has the experience that he doesn't. But even again, she sometimes gets it wrong, and he can fool them based on that. If that makes any sense. Why are my cameras going off? Someone doing something they shouldn't do on my land? Nope. Any word on when Strange New Worlds is coming out? Not to my knowledge. I don't think there's any... I haven't. There may be, but I haven't. Boimler is very by the books, and Mariner goes out of his way to break those books. Well, I also think she's just very seasoned. I think Mariner is just afraid of losing more friends. She tries to keep people to arm's length and be alone, but she's gone and allowed this group of Lord Deckers into her. I think that's fair too. I think that might be more truthful than anything, because everybody gets promoted and just leaves her. She even points that out. She says everybody gets promoted and just goes away, and so she's afraid of losing them. And I think that's fair. I think that's actually a pretty big flaw, and people don't really understand or get it. Do I play Star Trek Online, and what's my favorite ship? My favorite ship has always been the Akira. I do play Star Trek Online from time to time, but haven't recently, for various reasons. I really need to work on a video, because I need to get a video out tomorrow, but I am just not feeling it, and I don't want to force myself, because that's a horrible way to do things. I wish they'd update the visuals. They can't, with this, to my understanding, the system they're using, they'd have to completely rewrite it. Like, they'd have to basically create a new game, and I don't think they're going to do that. Not yet, at least, because that's quite a bit of money. You play vicariously through certifiably in-game. Well, they are a good lot to watch through. I don't understand why Mariner is still in Starfleet. I wouldn't stay in just to be an ensign. Maybe she should try to be a sort of a bounty hunter. Well, her arc, this is what she says. Now, you could argue there are better ways to go about it. Her arc is that she wants to help people, that she wants to stay in the game, but she can't. She doesn't want to have to deal with what bridge officers deal with. And so she specifically stays in the lower decks. But she wants to stay in Starfleet because she feels like Starfleet actually does change. Does good, but not at the higher levels. Mariner's supposed to have been like the lower decks on the Enterprise D and later DS9 during the Dominion War. Her classmates and peers are starting to become captains. Mariner's supposed to have been like lower deck. Yeah. Losing people is why you'd have a personal holodeck program with all your friends, like Barclay. True. True. Been helping out the channel? Not exactly sure. By sponsoring the channel. Thank you so much, Ben Grogan and TS. Hey, guys, if you want to help support the channel, keep all the lights on. You can do so by becoming a sponsor. Click down below. Mariner said herself she doesn't hate Starfleet. She hates the regulations that makes the job harder. But she still wants to help and explore and all that. And she feels like she can do it after that. Orville will probably have 3 seasons because the original series, then they'll make Orville the next installment. That would be funny, but I do think this is the last season of Orville. I think COVID has killed it. I really do. And which is unfortunate. Enterprise A was originally the Yorktown. That has never been confirmed in canon, but I think is I think makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't hate it if they did it. Mark Crackman helping out the channel. Yet another person sponsoring. Hey, if you don't like Patreon.com, you want to help out the channel, you can become a sponsor by clicking below and hitting that sponsor button. What's the mundane Matt thing they always said? I forget. Turn off those pesky ad blocks. First, the XFL, now Orville. That's it. COVID has gone too far. XFL, Extreme Football? Extreme Football was still a thing? Is that what that is? I thought that was canceled a long time ago. How did we go so long without seeing Barclay between episodes? Do you stop serving? Well, the thing I liked about Barclay, and the thing they kind of went into, was that Barclay was always a secondary character, so he always just showed up in the back, you know? XFL was revived a few years ago. That's crazy. I remember that when I was a kid. It was then McMahon was going to try and bring it back and not piss off the NFL fans. Oh. Well, that worked out. McMahon is not the genius he came off to be, is he? I just remember XFL and the CG glowing ball. I remember the Extreme Football, and then it was like, it's football, just a lot more dangerous, and everybody got mad about it. I was a kid when it came out, so that's all I remember about it. Technically. Then again, I don't think we need more sports. I don't watch sports, so I can't speak intelligently to that, unfortunately. But never been a huge fan. Dwayne Johnson and his ex-wife bought it. First off, why is he buying anything with his ex-wife? That's not a smart idea. I hope they take the Firefly brand new verse concept and develop it. That'd be awesome. I don't think they will. But I honestly, Firefly is one of those things that was lightning in a bottle. I don't think they could bring it back, you know? I don't think that it would be what it was. I think... Oh, lore, not you too. Terran Empire? Why wouldn't I do the Terran Empire? Just print money, son. Sorry, I'm having a conversation. Someone asked me something. That'd be interesting, seeing Orville, Firefly, and some of those other small science fiction series merge into a massive universe. I don't know. I don't know how intriguing that would be. Maybe they could try a reboot. I just don't think it would be the same, you know? If they were going to do it, I would probably set it like... I'd probably do the... what was it called? The War of Independence or whatever? In the Firefly era? I don't think it'd be good because what made Firefly great can't be attained again. Firefly was like truly a Western in space, and the cast has moved on, the writers have moved on, you know? It didn't print money for you, Venom? Well, you know... It's the Dominion War. People come to you for the Dominion War. That's the money printer. Babylon 5 animated show. I'd be interested to see what their ideas are for that. We need something new, though. Is there any new ideas? Boimler's hair is purple, wondering if that has significance in that he isn't 100% human. I just always assumed it was his hair was dyed. I never thought he was not human. I guess so. Sucks that Joss Whedon got super canceled. He could have bring it back in the period after Avengers and before the Justice League. Well, I mean, that hasn't stopped him from doing and creating shows beforehand. Since he's super canceled, does that mean you can't watch it, Jose? That you won't? Because he's on the canceled list? Because I've been on the canceled list 3 times, so can you watch me? The actor that played Shepard is... Yeah, he did that pass. I forgot it. Do you think Whedon will ever get another show after his hyper, mega, ultra canceling? I mean, the guy who did the X-Squad did, so I wouldn't see why he couldn't. If that makes any sense. Chris Pratt, I assume, is playing Mario. We don't need another Mario. They need to let that go. I've heard that every story is either a stranger comes to town or someone goes on an adventure. Actually, not true. That is the most common use and is what generally gets the big bucks. But there are other theories other than that. Now that is Joseph Campbell's way of writing stories. The Hero Tell, otherwise known as, I think it was The Power of Myth or something like that. But the Hero's Tell talks about how you start in your regular life and then you get a call to action, and usually that's somebody comes in or you leave. But that's not the only way of storytelling. I think it's the best way. The monomyth, right. I think it's the best way of storytelling. But that's just me. Again, it is a theory. There are other ways to write tales. But when you look at what goes on, it's the monomyth. Jack Black should be blackballed from leading roles. Mad Rabbit, don't Don't be sassy. There's no need for that. Do I like the story circle? The story circle. Are you talking about from the hero's journey, or is there the... There's so many different iterations that I always have to double check. And if the story circle is what I'm thinking it is, again, it's just another monomyth one. You're talking about the Harmon circle? Yeah, I mean, it's the monomyth. Hero with 1,000 faces, indeed. Sussy. The Constitution was retrofitted. Oh, wait for it. Is it going to come? Hopefully. It didn't do it. Why didn't it do it? There may be a delay. There should be something that pops up in a...
Listen, that Nickelodeon kid show never fucking happened.
Arctis Fox super chatted $5. The used Constitution was retrofitted and renamed the Enterprise A.
That has never been in canon, but it is an interesting theory, one that I think should be true, personally. What's going on, Darth Nicta? Yeah, but it's also... I don't know why it's not. It's supposed to pull up, and you guys are supposed to see the actual thing. I don't know why. That's frustrating me. Yeah, the Rebels in Firefly were basically the Maquis, and they got the same fate. True. Do I love the TOS episode? Do I love the episode? A piece of the action. The original series is my weakest of all of the series. Oh, the gangster one? Yeah, it was, interesting. What was that Nickelodeon soundbite from? Oh, it was from, something Nerdrotic said, where, he was saying Prodigy, never gonna happen. I thought it was funny. They've already eaten those words because it's coming out. It's coming out first on Paramount and then on Nickelodeon. So they've already eaten the words. It's been made. So, I mean, they'll never admit it, or it'll be adjusted for something because that's just how these things go. But someone should attempt to redo a John Carter series, the Princess of Mars series, I think it is. Indeed. Indeed, they should. You have the book, so where it's talking about the Enterprise. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not in there. I actually, again, like that theory more than anything else. But that said, the channel itself is Alpha Canon. Alpha Canon is what it shows on screen. Well, really, what the IP holder says, and that has generally been on screen. There are a couple of books at this point that are specifically Alpha Canon, but yeah. First take on the Foundation series starts tomorrow. The Foundation series. What is the Foundation? I've seen at least 2 John Carter movies over the last 10 or 15 years. Well, rocking out, buddy. You can keep going. First take on the Foundation series. What is the Foundation series? Foundation series is a science fiction book series written by Isaac Asimov. Okay. Interesting. You need to get an Audible sponsor so you'll be forced to read the new Picard books. I do. Hey, I can be bought. If Audible wants to give me money, I will pimp them like it's hot. By the way, guys, don't forget Surfshark VPN. Like, hey, if I'm in British-controlled France right now, and I'm afraid Germany is going to take me over, and I want to watch some of my tunes, you know what I do? I go to Surfshark VPN. And I know because I'm a Trekkie and I am a ludicrously attractive guy, genius, sex god, I know that I need to go to surfshark.deals/lore so I can get 87% off on my subscription and 3 months. I secure my digital life, I protect my personal data, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And all I do is I go to that website and I hit get the deal. And then I pay whatever price they ask, for I know it's the right thing to do. Surfshark VPN. Sexy people for a sexy time. Let's see a new series of the Trek where all talk about nothing but politics, economics, and etc. So basically, like the first 3 movie. The prequels, Star Wars prequels. As I said, I mean, I'm pretty open about how I stand. If Paramount wanted this channel to turn into like the most loved Discovery done channel on God's green earth, first off, they're gonna have to pay me a lot of money. It will be a lot of money, and I have to disclose it to you guys. But as long as I get paid a lot of money and I can disclose it to you guys, oh my God, every day, all day, will we talk about how good Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, Prodigy, all of it, how good it is, and how stupid anybody who hates it is. I mean, I can't even begin to talk about. But it'd be a lot of money. And at the beginning, I'd be like, hey, I got paid to do this.
Listen, that Nickelodeon kids show never fucking happened.
Aerial Ballet Super Shattered $20. Good job shilling out to a company that hasn't gave you money yet. So I'm gonna give you money.
Woot woot. Are you sure they haven't paid me yet, though? How do you know? Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's the only way I keep the lights on. I really think that you and I know each other outside of this, but I can't prove it. But thank you so much. And yeah, I'll shill for, I mean, as long as we have a contract or whatever, I will shill the hell out of it. Because I'm a trusting guy. I trust people. That's my problem. I love too much. I'm going to have to go pretty soon, though, guys. How about a Star Wars version of The Thick of It? I don't think I've seen The Thick of It. They don't give a say on you disclosing it. You legally have to. That's fair. Surfshark doxes people. How do they dox people? And I'm serious about that because I did believe it or not, I joke about it, but believe it or not, I do research on sponsors. I've turned sponsorships away. Because I don't want to associate with them. And I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just haven't heard anything. That crying kid is a perfectly natural resolution to this mystery. Anybody can see that. Okay, that sounds like something from The Thick of It. Again, have not seen. It's got...
A review Super Shattered $10.
It makes more sense if you can see it. I don't know why it's not popping up. I'll try to see that. But thanks so much for supporting it. That's the one where you have Picard. He was waving all weird and stuff. $10 to shill for Discovery. That'll get you a good rant, probably. But that's about it. Because it's got to be a lot of money for Discovery. Because that's going against what I firmly believe. So let me tell you guys, though. Discovery is probably one of the best, most innovative Star Trek shows that I've honestly seen. I have to be completely honest with you. First off, they go well out of their way to not look at the captain, not look at the executive officer, not look at the bridge, but a bridge senior crew, but they're actually looking at just a regular officer. In fact, while while Michael starts out as an officer, by the way, so brave. Michael, like for a female, I love how they are smashing through the patriarchy and taking out those gender norms. But anyway, so Michael starts out as an officer, but then trying to save people loses her commission, and it stays focused on her. You know, everybody loves Lower Decks because they're looking at not the senior staff. Really, Discovery did it first. And let's be honest, Discovery probably did it better. Not only that, but we're taking a look at some of the most original and iconic species. We got the Klingons, we have the Vulcans, we have Andorians. It is just so, like, it is literally like being in the original series again, except with updated CGI, updated panels, all kinds of stuff. You can tell that these ships come from the original series, but it's really with the 2021 bent, which Star Wars didn't do. Let's just be honest. Star Wars just keeps using the exact same old stuff. I mean, honestly. It's so ridiculous. Now, they also go back to the beginning where they're having a war with the Federation. Klingons versus Starfleet. You can't get any more original series with that. I mean, really, it's really the original series redone, and I think better, if you ask me. I'll do a video for $100. Never knew their nipples looked it. They looked. Oh, that's. I don't care who you are. That's some funny stuff. That is some funny stuff. I try. Dude, it depends on how much you pay me. I mean, I can take my subs down to 100. 100K, done, boys. Done. Let's get it. Let's see them subscribers drop. Of course, according to like random people, I subbot, which I don't even know how that works, but you know, whatever. I hate that it doesn't show the stuff on there. That annoys me. Give me a quick second. All right. All right, guys. I do have to head out. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. I probably won't be here tomorrow morning, maybe in the evening, because I do got to get a video out for you. And if I got to get a video, I'm not going to stream in the mornings. Possibly in the evenings. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, guys. I'm going to see you on the next War Reloaded.